And I ain't got a crown, I let the trophies do it. Around here we the best, now come and hold me to it. I specialize in everything that can't be done. Ain't no more talking about it. Moment of silence for the champion. They say we warriors, they say we did it again. Hands high for the champion. We are victorious, we only in it to win. Stand up for the champion. No surrender, no retreat. We take the battlefield over every time. Clap your hands for the champion. We came, we saw, we conquered everything in sight.
Moment of silence for the champion, baby. We did it. We brought the fantasy football crown home once again. Ron Artest. You ever hear a Ron Artest song and just think, this guy speaks to me? I love Meta World Peace. I love that song, and I love this podcast today. The NFL playoffs are finally here. We've been talking about it all season long, Steve and I, and we have made it. We've got an amazing 4 games set for this weekend. We're going to give our picks against the spread. It's going to be a fun podcast. Hope you like it. Hope you like the Ron Artest music. Now we're going to play my music because I'm the champion. All right, here we go.
Welcome to Terrific Talk. My name is Tom Anderson. Tom Anderson.
Back to him, back against God. Back, God. Tom
Anderson.
Great cash, homie. Great cash, homie.
I feel ready to go another 9 innings.
Touchdown.
I feel ready to go another 9 innings.
Touchdown.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Terrific Talk Podcast. Welcome back, Terrific Talk Podcast.
Here comes the host.
I'm your host, Tom Anderson.
first. Behind the bag. It gets to Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Knicks win it.
Terrific.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, baby.
What's up? The first terrific talk of the new year. How you feeling?
First one, man. I'm excited. We had a good run 2018. Looking forward to building on it in 2019. Sorry if my voice is a little off. I was actually at the Rose Bowl yesterday.
Yeah, what happened there? Did you go see your boy coach's final game?
Urban. We did. That'll be a fun fact to say down the line that we were in attendance for his final game as of right now, final game as a college head coach. But
He'll be back.
No, he'll be back. Yeah, no, but we had a good time. We actually started it off at the Rose Parade, which was, that is no joke, man. Philly does a New Year's Day parade, which is basically just an excuse to get stupidly hammered. But this one, there's like a Rose Queen, and there's awards given to floats, and they've got cops on motorcycles doing like driving routines. It was pretty intense, but it was a lot of fun. So, we started off with that, and then we went to the game, and the game, was a bit of a blowout, big time blowout early.
Right.
Ohio State was up 28-3, and then all of a sudden the fourth quarter came around, and I guess University of Washington remembered that they're actually playing a game against an opponent, so they turned up the heat late and got it close. They had an opportunity at an onside kick to try to get the ball back to win it, but they, in most instances it goes, didn't recover the onside kick. So victory formation it was, but we were yelling, and it was a lot of fun. But
I gotta hand it to you. I gotta hand it to you for making college football the first thing we talked about in 2019.
Yeah.
Who would have saw that coming?
We didn't talk about college football in the entire part of 2000. Not one time.
It's terrible.
Where we live, and I know Rutgers is up there, but
they suck.
We don't really have big time college football programs by us. People go Penn State or Notre Dame just because it's a big Irish Catholic. I'm a big Irish Catholic hub, but I just never really got big into college. What about you?
Not at all. Because same thing. I have no allegiance to any school. I get it. If you're in Alabama, I get that's your team. I understand it, but there's no good teams around here. We went to American University. We didn't even have a football team. Still undefeated. So I just could care less about college football, and it's just the same teams every single year. So it's like, what am I really missing here?
Yeah, round 4, here we come.
It's a joke. But so we just had the holidays, and I got a good text. You said you were at your wife Erin's parents, the Christmas Eve party, right?
Yes, I was.
And you were talking to you're like, we're getting some mad props right now for the podcast. First of all, you got to shout these guys out. Who are they? What were they saying? What's the talk?
So this is my man Corey Landis. I guess he had seen either you had posted about the pod, or I had shared it, or vice versa, and it just popped up in his news feed, and he's like, what? I haven't seen or talked to Steve in a while. I want to hear his voice. I just want to hear what he has to say. And he's like, man, before I knew it, I listened to about 3 straight, and I loved it.
Nice.
He actually said I felt like I was listening to Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Russillo. And I mean, I've said this before, like Van Pelt, when you went full big mode on the head, you're coming for him. We're starting to hear some chatter. So, but now, I mean, the Corey Landis, like I said, he just gave me some props and said it feels like friends talking sports where, you guys just give your take, you have fun with it, you're not too analytical, you're not too sabermetricsy, you're just, you guys know your stuff and enjoy spitting some game. So, it was, I went into that, so that Christmas Eve party is notorious just for heavy partying.
Yeah.
People are doing shots, calling out, I don't want to say calling out, but just saluting to good times and memories from years past. They always salute to this thing called the Chevy Cup, which Aaron's brother Colin, who he and his club soccer team won, so that always gets a shout out. So it's a good time, but I didn't go into the Cook family Christmas Eve party expecting to get some love about the pod. So that was a nice added bonus, I'll say.
That's big time.
Big time. We're just taking over one week at a time, man.
Blowing up like I thought I would. Same number, same hood.
That's it, man.
It's all good. So I don't know if you noticed this, but over just the Happy New Year's Eve, people, Facebook, Instagram, nonstop talking about how great their 2018 was, the lessons they've learned.
Yep.
I can't stand it. It's so bad.
I know. It's great, dude. So the thing, I feel like I saw some type of meme, and I forget exactly how it went about, but it was just like the engagements, the birth announcements, how great 2018 was, like basically it makes me want to gag. And I was like, wait, this is, in my head, I was like, this is Tom. Probably. Did Tom make this? Because this is his motto for these couple days of the year, that week between Christmas and New Year's.
It's just nonstop. Like, no one cares. Yeah. No one cares.
Well, it's the kind of the social media like conundrum, I guess. So, like everything is great for everyone, and that's all you see. It's like, okay, not everything is great. not everyone has their fair share of struggles, but of course, the only thing you see is all the great stuff, right?
It's so bad. But that being said, is your New Year's resolution to get on Instagram?
Oh God, I don't ever hear the end of it. So I was back on the East Coast. Aaron and I were hoping to maybe try to get up to New York, but it just is, chaos.
Chaos.
It was the big, like the most whirlwind 9 days of my life. I between family, sisters, cousins, Instagram. I'm like, just don't have an Insta. They're like, what is your problem? Like I heard, it just never ends. And I always say at some point I'll get on there, but I'm just gonna keep it to like a total handle that no one would know, totally anonymous. Just try to fly under the radar, as minimal followers as possible.
Unbelievable.
But, you'll be the first follow. You'll be one of the first follows, so you'll know.
Appreciate it.
What now? Holidays for you? How things go? Did you guys have a good time? Did you guys party? Bunch of family?
Yeah, we partied a little too hard. Tori was like blacking out all over the place this past week. I love it. It was bad.
That's so standard, Tori.
No, it was a relatively tame holidays, actually. One of the tamest. But So this past week, Tori and I just binge watched. I'm back, baby. I'm back in a big way. We'll get into that. We'll get into that in a little bit. And I promise everyone out there who's listening, we will get to these NFL playoff picks and these 4 games.
Wait, the NFL playoffs are coming?
I just read it somewhere. I don't actually. We got to fact check that. Well, we might edit that out. But yeah, no, there's an amazing slate of games this weekend. We'll get into. But we have an announcement here. I don't know if you heard, Steve, but fantasy football champion. You're talking to one.
What number of years is this in a row? I mean, are we building like the dynasty has obviously already been established? Like, are we going to Supreme Dynasty Emperor? Like, what's the level here that we're talking?
I mean, you know, I love MJ. You know, I love Kobe and Shaq. They were able to do a three-peat. They were not able to win 4 in a row.
They couldn't get it done.
But this guy just did. 4 straight titles. That's a dynasty.
And you brought it out of the basement. You were, 1-5 through week 6 or something like that, right?
Lost Kareem Hunt right before the playoffs. Had the last pick in the draft this year. Didn't matter.
King of the waiver wire.
You ready for
and I mean, the semifinal game, you know, we talked about Solly a good bit. That was tight. That was, you know, he was you know, trying to win with some sabotage.
Yeah, a little sleazy, you know.
A little sleazy, but I mean, the final, it was really never in doubt. Once you got rolling, it was that was kind of an easy layup of a win, correct?
The final score was 142 to 82.
And that was my man Jordan.
Sorry, Jordan. Not your fault.
Not your fault, dude. You just ran into the buzzsaw.
He's bitter, too. He's not happy about it. Got some very angry texts the next day.
You know, you can tell him that maybe he and the previous 3 losers from the previous 3 years can join a therapy session, join a group chat, and air their grievances. You know,
that's not a bad idea, actually.
Maybe you should facilitate that and just be on there so that you can see what you did to them mentally after the fact.
You know, it was good. So I won it, and then what was the holiday? I guess it was was it Christmas? I guess.
Yeah.
We were going over to Tori's family.
Christmas was Tuesday after the week 16.
Yeah. So I was really pumped to see Tim. You know, right after the title, man. And a no-show at Christmas.
Oh my God. You're that much in his head that he no-showed Christmas?
A complete no-show. Now, the story was that he hurt his back and he couldn't make it out, but I think we all know what happened.
Sounds skeptical.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm buying that one.
I know. So that was pretty good.
You know what it was? His kids probably were just drilling him so hard about the loss that he probably tried to do something to show that dad is the man, and he put himself in a precarious position, and all because of Terrific.
It's tough to see. That family is going to hate me after hearing these podcasts, by the way.
It's all love. We love you all. Happy New Year.
We do. All love except to Solly, who's still sleazy Solly.
Sleazy Solly, man. But Solly, you know, we were texting a little bit earlier. He got a nice win against the spreads. He's got another one going for the playoffs. I mean, this is a fun time of year. I'm driving, listening to ESPN radio. They're talking about the playoff fantasy leagues where you pick, potentially you pick a player that could be a one and done game, or you could have him for 4 games or 3 games. That's that. Yeah, it's a fun little concept. There's still a lot of betting to be had and a lot of bad beats to be had. We had a little bit of a bad beat on what? What did we have a bad beat on 2 weeks ago?
I had a really bad beat. It's actually funny because it's one of the playoff matchups.
Yep.
Chargers-Ravens.
Yep.
The over was, I think, 42 or whatever.
32 and
30,
a half, 42.
Yep.
It was 32. It was 42 and a half, and you teased it down to 32 and a half.
Right. And Baltimore scores a touchdown late defensively. Huge.
And we were texting back and forth rejoicing.
Yeah, I was going crazy. I was like, this is awesome. And then John Harbaugh just inexplicably goes for 2. Like, just no reason. There's like 3 minutes left in the game. And they just run it up the middle. Like, they don't even run anything creative. They have the best mobile quarterback in the NFL. Just a simple handoff up the middle. Stuffed. I lose the over-under. That was tough. For sure.
And that was a tease that everything else had already gone into play. The parlay was set, and that was the last piece of it you needed.
That was a really bad beat.
So again, bad beat, Scott Van Pelt. You being Scott Van Pelt, we're onto something here.
We're definitely onto something. Should we get into these NFL playoff games?
We have to. I mean, because these are fun. Now, one thing though, before we get into it, that you wanted me to remind you, you wanted to touch on this going for two, like just way too early in games, and I know the game you're referencing.
Your coach is all over that. It's all over the league, though. It's like It's so stupid. It's so early. They're just giving away free points, and then all these games are coming down to the wire at the end of the game, and they're like, "Oh, if they just went for the extra point, they'd be leading." It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I agreed. And I mean that to me also is kind of like the one where it's kind of like when it's fourth and 3, and they're inside the 15, and it's like just take the 3 points.
Yeah,
and they all try to go for it because they want the TD. And I get like. The Chiefs Chiefs and Rams have made scoring so insane.
Yeah.
That everyone wants a touchdown, but there's how many times you lose a game by 2? Oh wait, we went for it on 4th and 4 from the 13 and we didn't get it, and that could have been a field goal.
Everybody's 4th down happy now. Everyone thinks they can go for it on 4th down. I mean, Belichick and Riverboat Ron kind of paved the way for that, and everyone's just taking it to extreme. Like, not all these teams have Cam Newton and Tom Brady. Like, what are you doing? It's just so frustrating.
I wonder if it's something that will correct itself next year.
I think it has to, because it's burning a lot of teams, and at the end of the games, everyone's like, "What the hell were you thinking?" I think it's going to correct itself.
Well, the other thing too, with everyone going on, like, how many missed extra points have there been this year? Like,
so many,
absurd. So maybe like a lot of these guys are like, you know what? Instead of kicking a 30, whatever it ends up being, 35-25, I don't know, like a lengthier extra point. Like, we get it at the 2. Let's see if we can punch it in. I just think like. The play calls, you have to be crafty, but sometimes to me, like, let's say the Eagles situation, Doug Peterson likes to go for it on 4th down, and he likes to get creative, but like the last couple times on 4th, like the last two games, we've gone for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, and it's just QB sneak up the middle. Like, if you have a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback, 6'6", 230-pound quarterback, like, get him behind the lineman and just keep churning your legs. Like, you're going to get 3 or 6 feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think like sometimes when you have to go 3 feet and you drop back 7 yards, it's like, okay, why are we dropping back 20 feet to go when we only had to go 3?
100%.
But anyway,
I got another thing.
The playoff.
I got another thing. You mentioned the extra point thing and how there's been so many misses. So as someone who's like picking these games, these missed extra points have been super frustrating and annoying. Do you miss the old, like, it's just automatic? Or are you a fan of this, that now it adds a different element to the game? Because it's kind of annoying now. Like, at first I was like all for the changes, like the extra point's completely pointless. They make it like 98% of the time. But now that they're missing these points, it's like super frustrating.
It's deciding games. It's a really good point. I mean, I think that I do like I think the extra point needs to happen, just because, like, what? If not, it just might as well make a touchdown 7 points. You wonder if they went, like, too far back on it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind a miss. Like, what, it was 98%, now it's down to 92%, which, like, is in theory isn't a lot, but it does decide games. Like, you wonder if they just made it instead of from the 2 to the 9 and, a 19-yard chip shot, now it's at 35. Like, why not make it like a 25?
Yeah, it's something to think about. I don't know.
Something to think about. I don't think that they will, because I think they like the fact that teams go for 2.
Yep.
Or, I guess also maybe teams are going for it on 4th down more because, like, in these 4th and short from 15, like, that's kind of the extra point distance that there is now a lot more misses. Like, maybe coaches are second guessing, like, okay, is this a time that, this, instead of this guy being 100% here, is this one of the times he's going to miss it and we're going to just leave points on the board, leave points on the field? I don't know.
It's weird. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right.
And guess what? We'll see more tries for 2, and we'll see more missed extra points here in the next coming weeks, won't we?
We definitely will. It'll be fun. Let's get into it. Let's start with the Colts at the Texans, the Saturday afternoon game. Texans at home here are favored by 1.5. And just a little overview. So these obviously division. They're both in the same divisions. They played each other twice. They split their meetings. Both games were decided by 3 points. So both games were super close. Colts.
Each road team won, correct?
Exactly.
If I remember correctly, yes.
Correct. And something I noticed, the Colts 4-4 on the road. They were much better home team. I thought that I always felt more confident in them at home over a lot of teams. Andrew Luck barely sacked this season. The offensive line's held up, going up against Clowney and J.J. Watt. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, sacked a league-high 62 times, I saw. Crazy.
I mean, we played them late, the Texans.
You did.
That was the game that we almost gave away because of missed extra points and going for the 2-point conversion. The one thing with Deshaun Watson, which I noticed he did this against us. Like he took maybe 2 sacks where he's trying to extend the play, and he's running towards the sideline, and instead of throwing it out of bounds and not taking a sack, he steps out of bounds and loses 2 yards.
He does. He does that.
What is he doing? I don't. So I mean that is a telling stat. I wonder how many instances that happens. Are maybe 8 of those tied to that, which maybe shouldn't happen. That being said, the Colts defense has been fierce. I mean, Leonard's probably going to be, in my opinion, he should be defensive rookie of the year. They got the big guy Hunt, that defensive front is menacing. If you asked me before hearing chatter, who would win, I'd be like, you know what, I kind of like the Colts. They're riding high. I just almost feel like too many people are on the Colts right now.
Yeah.
We were fans of the Texans, back in late November, early December. They lost a tough one to the Eagles, but they were away. I mean, I don't think that's an indictment against the Texans that they're not a good football team. The Eagles, they're defending Super Bowl champs. As weird as the year has been, that's who they lost to on the road in a hostile environment in a must-win game for the Eagles. I think the Texans playing at home. If you would have asked me Sunday night after that game, knee-jerk reaction, I would have probably said Colts. But I'm kind of leaning towards the Texans. I think that Deshaun Watson is incredibly athletic, incredibly skilled. DeAndre Hopkins is a beast. The one thing I worry about is them getting their run game established. If they can do that, they maybe win by a touchdown. If not, I think it's maybe a little bit closer. Maybe they win by a late field goal, and they have a great kicker. So, maybe not what a lot of people are leaning towards, but I kind of like the Texans there. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be close for sure. I don't think either team's really going to blow the other one out. I thought it was interesting in the last matchup. I was watching a decent amount of that game, and I was impressed with how kind of easily Andrew Luck was throwing on the Texans. He threw for almost 400 yards in that game. Yeah. And I was watching that especially closely because I had T.Y. Hilton on my fantasy team.
T.Y., your boy. Yep.
That was the game he went off. He went for 199 yards.
Yep.
So they could not stop Hilton. They could not stop Luck. So that gives me some confidence in the Colts. But the one kind of flag is, Luck threw for 400 yards, and the Colts still only ended up winning by 3.
Yeah.
So that is definitely nerve-wracking. I'm leaning towards the Colts right now. I don't know. I feel like the Texans...
You leaning towards the Colts with the points, or you leaning towards the Colts money line outright win?
I'll take the points, but I think money outright win at this point. I think they can beat the Texans. It's a tough spot on the road. I get it. And Deshaun Watson has been great. I've been really impressed with him. He's solid. Little worried about how thin they are at receiver now.
Yeah.
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is incredible, and you can put 8 guys on him, and it doesn't matter. He finds a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot on his shoulders.
Well, yeah, it is. Will Fuller is probably. I think he's out.
He's out. Demaryius Thomas is out. I know.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They've just had some injuries at receiver, which is tough. Makes the matchup tough. I think if they don't establish the run game. I think that definitely helps out the Colts both ways because that gives more time for Luck and the offense to be on the field.
To do his thing, yep. You're right.
So right now I'm leaning Colts, but honestly, this could go either way. I think it's a very close game.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing, obviously, the Colts are hot, right? They started 1-5 and have lost one game since. Yeah. So, and they needed to go 9-1 down the stretch to make the playoffs. So they needed every game that they won. Part of me wishes that they maybe went 8-2 and lost in the last week or two. Like maybe lost week 15 or 16 just to kind of get them refocused. My thing sometimes I worry about teams when they go on these crazy long runs, are they feeling themselves a little bit too much?
Right.
Frank Reich's came from the champs, right? I think he kind of can keep them grounded, but that's the only other thing I kind of have a reservation about with the Colts. I agree with you. I think it could go either way. I think it'll be a hard fought game. And the one thing that Andrew Luck can hang his hat on, and they have to kind of remember, is even if let's say the Texans jump out big at home, riding that hometown energy, that dude, he could be down by 4 TDs and he's not going to stop.
Yeah.
That game against the Chiefs kind of rings a bell from a few years back. Again, I'm agreeing that with everything that you say as well. I kind of just am leaning Texans, but
it's fair.
Things could change. We still got a couple more days.
It's fair. And I also think the line is kind of interesting. I would have thought Houston would be favored by 3 at home, honestly.
Yeah.
In this one.
That's a good point.
All right. So we kind of disagree on that one. It's a coin flip. All these games are honestly pretty much coin flips. So this is going to be fun. So the next one, big game, Saturday night, the Seattle Seahawks going in to Dallas. And Dallas here, similar situation. They're at home. They are favored by 1.5. This is a good one. So that
line has moved a little bit because that was 2.5, right?
Yep. So people,
yeah, I mean,
this is another thing.
Line.
People are on the Seahawks right now, and I kind of get it. Seattle, these teams played each other week 3. Seattle beat Dallas 24-13. That was, I don't really hold too much with that because Dallas really wasn't the Dallas that we know today. They were really trying to figure things out, especially defensively. Dallas this year 7-1 at home. Thought that was an interesting stat. They've actually been really good at home. So this is I think this is obviously a battle of the running games. I would whatever the over under is, I'm kind of leaning on the under. I think this is going to be a big time of possession game, and you got Carson and Seattle. They've been the best rushing team in the league. All they do is run the ball, basically.
Carson, Mike Davis.
Yep, they're all solid. They're solid. And then on the other side, you got Zeke, who is probably the best running back in the league right now. He's incredible.
Yep.
Great matchup. So I think that these running games could almost cancel each other out.
Yep.
I think they're both going to be really good. So then to me, it comes down to Russell versus Dak.
And you know where I'm leaning on that one.
You know where I'm leaning on that one too. I'm Russell. I'm with Russell. 35 touchdowns this year, only 7 interceptions. He's had a great season, kind of underrated.
Do you know what's funny watching the Seahawks? Because obviously, we'll talk Eagles. They got in, but that was the potential, way in for us still the last 2 weeks of the year. If they went 0-2 down the stretch and ended up 8-8, we were 9-7, we would jump them.
Yep.
The thing with Russell that's crazy is his wide receivers somehow 2 or 3 times a game are able to get 30 yards clear of the defender, and he's able just to throw the easiest pass of his life to a wide open guy, and they can almost backpedal into the end zone.
It's so true. It's happened so many times.
It happens. It's I can close my eyes and just picture all these random times it happens where you're like, man, he must just be heaving it and up for grabs, and then it's wait, no defenders around that Tyler Lockett or Doug Baldwin or whoever it is. I think Russ makes plays. He's unflappable. I know that Dak he's way to me he's just way too inconsistent.
He's played a little bit better lately, to be fair.
As of late.
The tight end I like. The tight end they got's pretty good.
Yeah, that guy's went off the last 2 weeks of the year. But I mean, again, to your point, running game's being nullified. If it's Dak versus Wilson, like I got to take Russell Wilson, especially if he's going to be getting a point and a half.
I know you have friends in Seattle. Are they confident heading into this game?
Yeah, I haven't actually talked too much about that with them. However, two friends, Nick, Brennan, they definitely they'll. Brennan would tell you that it's going to be a bloodbath. That the Seahawks are going to win by double digits. Nick actually is a guy who got a tattoo of the Seattle logo with the Lombardi Trophy before they won the Super Bowl, and then they ended up winning the Super Bowl. He was that, so they're definitely confident in their team. I think that, I would share their confidence in this one that Seattle would get this done. I think I said it to you. I don't even know what week it was. Maybe week 14, after the Cowboys beat the Eagles, and you're like, are the Cowboys for real? I said, listen, dude, what, they're going to get the 4th seed, and they're going to have to play, Seattle's going to go into Dallas, and, they're going to stop Russell Wilson. You can never say never. Any given Sunday, or in this case Saturday, that's why they play the game, but all those cliches, I just think that Seattle, better coached, because then you look at a Pete Carroll versus Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
I take Pete Carroll every day, any day of the week.
Yeah.
My feeling on it is I want to take the 3 home teams because there always seems to be an upset. So I want to take the 3 home teams that play before the Eagles on Sunday. But I think that this is one where the Seahawks I would lean their way.
All right, we're both leaning Seattle. Next game Sunday. We mentioned it before. The Chargers at the Ravens.
Rematch.
A rematch. They just played 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles. This one here is going to be in Baltimore. Right now I have the Ravens favored by 2.5 points. So, as we mentioned, I was watching that game 2 weeks ago super closely, right?
Yep. Defensive battle.
Oh, my God. Complete defensive battle. And I was kind of rooting for the Chargers because I wanted to see some points. The Chargers could not move the ball against that Ravens defense. It was a struggle for Phillip Rivers. He was terrible in that game. They could not move the ball. So and
that was no Melvin Gordon, I believe, correct?
Correct. No Melvin Gordon, and they might have even been missing Keenan Allen at that point.
He might have gone out.
Which is obviously huge. Yeah, he went out in the Kansas City game before, so I don't think he was playing in this one. Obviously big. Yep. Since he's come back, though, it makes me a little nervous. He hasn't been tearing it up. His last couple games, he's had 4 catches around 50 yards. Not the normal Keenan Allen we're used to.
Yep.
And this Ravens defense is really, really, really good. And Baltimore ran the ball well against the Chargers. The Chargers are kind of built on, getting to the quarterback. I think it's kind of a tough matchup for them.
Hard to get to Lamar Jackson, right?
It's tough, obviously. I mean, Lamar Jackson's fast. So
He's very fast.
The Chargers are really, really good. They were 7-1 on the road this year. I mentioned a couple weeks back that I like the Chargers a lot better on the road than at home.
Yeah.
So
they don't really have a home field advantage.
Yeah.
They're like a nomad of a team where they were San Diego forever. Now they're just kind of don't have a stadium. They're playing in in LA in the Coliseum. Anytime there's a Chargers home game, it tends to be a home game for the road team, if you will.
Yep. The Chargers 7-1 on the road. They had wins at Seattle, at Pittsburgh, and at Kansas City this year. Pretty impressive. Yeah. They're a good road team. That being said, I took a look at the weather forecast in Baltimore.
Uh-oh.
And there's rain in the forecast. And I think that bodes well for Baltimore, who just wants to run the ball the entire time.
Yeah.
That'll make it a little bit harder for Phillip Rivers to throw on this incredible Ravens defense. I'm leaning right now towards Baltimore, but I could be convinced otherwise. What are you thinking?
Well, my initial gut was that the Chargers offense wasn't going to put up a duplicate performance, but when I hadn't looked at the weather forecast. When you threw the rain into the mix, that kind of makes me a little wary. Ball's going to be slick. Baltimore is a team that just hawks for turnovers, and they're really good at, obviously, producing turnovers. I'm conflicted there, but I think wet forecast lends to a lower scoring game. a game where either team wants to control the clock, and Lamar Jackson at this point just seems to kind of be the weapon X, if you will, of he could hurt you with his legs, he could hurt you with his arm, he'll kind of keep you off balance, keep you guessing. I think in a low scoring matchup in Baltimore, I already said X factor, but the key for the Ravens, I think, is going to come down to them having the best kicker in the damn league.
Yeah. That's a huge advantage, and we all know the Chargers always have their issues with kicking, so that is an X factor.
So I think I would lean Ravens. Before you introed that, I would have maybe leaned Chargers, but they're a 1:00 East Coast, and that's the other thing for the Chargers that I was going to mention that could be a negative is they're really playing 11 a.m. their time.
Mm-hmm.
Flying across the country. I mean, Phillip Rivers, I feel like he's a gamer, and he's not going to let any excuse get into his head. This one, there may be too many factors going against him here, though.
Interesting. But if it is sunny or just cloudy, no rain, would you take the Chargers?
I think it's a different. I think the rain tilts my decision. I think if it's and we know meteorologists, like it seems like it's a coin flip. So they could say it's going to rain for 2 inches of rain, and the sun's out. I think if the sun's out, I think it's a totally different game. I think that the Chargers win. Not even the sun's out, but I think if rain is minimal, I think it tilts to the Chargers' favor because I think offensively, they're way more dynamic than they showed 2 weeks ago. They'll have their weapons back. I think they'll keep the Ravens a little off balance, and I think that they have savvy defenders. Could keep Lamar Jackson in check. I'm not saying they will, but I trust the weapons offensively of the Chargers more than I trust the weapons of the Ravens. So if it ends up being a pure offensive game, go Chargers. I think if it is wet, if it's kind of that miserable mid-Atlantic winter weather, I think that it's got to lean towards the Ravens.
If you're a Chargers fan, I think the one thing you gotta hope for is you come out. The Ravens basically owned them in that game. The Chargers they were missing guys. They kind of felt a little checked out almost of that game. They got to come out here just pissed about what happened and come out strong because if you can get a lead on Baltimore, then that puts a lot of pressure on Lamar.
Yep. Rookie quarterback, that's where the mistakes happen. Agreed.
Yeah, so, the beginning of that game will be key, I think, for the Chargers.
Yeah, I think we'll have to kind of follow the weather. But if you had to ask me now, after, talking, I think that Ravens get it done. Do they cover the spread? Maybe. Do they win by 3 or more? Maybe it's a Justin Tucker field goal with 5 seconds left and they win by 1 or 2. If it's not a brutal bog of a day with rain, I think the Chargers could win this game by double digits.
Yeah, if they get out, they could. It's crazy. When do you remember ever a first weekend of NFL playoffs with this many close games? Like,
nope.
Everyone's pretty even. It's usually the spread. There's always like one really crappy game. All these games are solid.
Yeah, we've talked about 3 games, and on average the spread is 2 points.
Crazy.
2.25 maybe, but now this next game the spread's a little bigger, which to me is.
How are you in the playoffs right now? How did this happen?
I was hoping for a choke from Dallas, but I'll take a choke from Kirk Cousins. God, he's not good at all. And we've been talking about that all year. I feel like how is he making $84 million guaranteed?
He is terrible. Did you see him screaming at Adam Thielen on the sideline?
Oh, yeah. Trying to tell Adam Thielen, who's, arguably a top 5 receiver in the league right now, how to run a route. Get out of here.
What is happening? What a mess. What a disappointment, Minnesota. Just, oh my God. Yeah. They were so close last year.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And this is, I was talking to, forget who, about this. Maybe we were texting about it. You wonder if
make your case.
They may get paid all that money for Kurt, and look what he got him. He got him, 8-7-1 out of the playoffs. Case Keenum,
unbelievable.
The guy that they had
He was solid.
Again, miracle play. Like the one thing that drives me a little bit crazy and has driven me crazy this whole year is like everyone singing the praises of the Saints and then being like, well, they should have been in the NFC Championship and playing the Eagles and they probably would have beat them and they would have been in the Super Bowl. And it's kind of like, no, like Case Keenum made a play and Stephon Diggs made a play and they beat you. So no, like, but that's the playoffs and that's the NFL. Like games are always that close that one team needs to make one big play.
Yep.
And they were able to do it with Case. So, you know, like, they ran to the Eagles, man. The Eagles, it was like their destiny last year, right? They blew them out in the NFC Championship. It was in Philly. That place was it was bedlam. So, like, I can't fault them for not winning that game. They jumped out early too. They were up 7-0. I just don't get the Vikings move to go for a guy who's very unproven in Kirk Cousins, doing it in big situations. You know, he's terrible in Week 17. He is terrible in prime time. And, you know, to pay him that much money when you had a guy that just took you to the NFC Championship, to me, is just doesn't...
It's got to hurt. It's got to sting.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
All right. It's got to sting.
That being said, yes, the Eagles are in the playoffs. It's amazing.
Incredible.
You know, beating the Redskins on their 5th quarterback of the year or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
That's not a big thing that I'm gonna hang my hat on. But to go to LA and beat the Rams, who were, you know, arguably top 3 team in the league, and then to fly across the country, take on the Texans, who are one of the hottest teams in the league, and get that win. We're riding some good momentum right now.
And you played Dallas really close in Dallas.
Yeah, both games. And we played Dallas close both games. I mean, there was a couple, I think the game in Philly, there was just, I mean, I hate bashing refs. Like, I mean, I don't hate bashing refs because they do it to themselves, but there were just a couple questionable calls. There were some questionable calls against us in Dallas where it's like, and it's happened to every team. It's not just the Eagles, but it's like you sack the quarterback and they're like, oh, you tackled him. That's a penalty. That's a personal foul.
Well, you know what I'm really nervous about this weekend is all these games I think are going to be pretty tight. And the refs have really not held up well this season. I think the refs are it's going to be bad. It's going to be a bad weekend for the refs. I'm like very nervous about that.
Yeah, I agreed.
It's really annoying. Like you're watching every time there's a pass play, I feel like there's going to be a flag. Like every single time, either a pass interference, defensive holding, or roughing the quarterback. There's always a flag on a pass play. I'm like scared to death if I'm rooting for the defense.
Why even throw the ball? Just hand it off. But even with how many runs have been? I mean, who was it last week? Someone had like 2. Well, I think it was the Colts. Like Marlon Mack ran for a touchdown, holding, called back. Then they threw the ball. Then they had another big run or another big pass play that almost got the first down, holding. And it was like before you know it, it's 1st and 30, and you're like, okay, this is stupid. You know,
spotlight's going to be on the refs this weekend. It's going to be bad. Let's get to your game though, here, dude. Eagles at the Chicago. I noticed you don't really want to talk about it. You're a little nervous. Eagles at the Bears. I have the Bears favored by 5.5 right now.
So that line's come down because I think it was 6.5 early. So yeah, I think 6.5 was way too high. It's funny because I feel like I was on the Bears early. You know, they had a couple rough games mid-season, but they got themselves back and, you know, they got their mojo back. They were actually playing for the 2 seed, playing for the bye. I actually was very nervous watching the games this weekend because I felt at halftime when the Rams had that game locked up against the Niners, and the Eagles, you know, they were up, I think 17-0 or something like that against the Redskins at this point. I thought that the Bears were just going to coast in and not even care about the outcome of that game. And
they
be
went
like,
for it.
You know what? We're playing the Vikings and we're dominating them and they are a terrible football team. Like, why not just play them again at home and we'll just beat the shit out of them again next week?
Seems like that would have made sense, by the way.
I thought that they were going to do it. And then, you know, after the Eagles game ended, they switched coverage over to the Vikings and the Bears and they ran it. You know, Tariq Cohen ran in a touchdown. They went up 10 late, you know, midway through the 4th quarter. And I was like, holy shit, this is actually going to happen. Yeah, I was nervous that and again, like Aaron's like, you're such a conspiracy theorist, and it's not like about conspiracy theory, it's just more like them playing the matchup. Do you want to play a floundering Vikings team or a hot Eagles team?
Would have way rather played Minnesota.
Yeah, agreed. But, we're here, and it's to what I was going to say, how I was on the Bears early because their defense was Khalil Mack was huge, and Mitchell Trubisky was getting it done. Man, he threw for 5 TDs in one half earlier in the year. He seemed to be establishing himself as a kind of mid-level QB. And I kind of said, man, I'd hate to be the team that has to go into Soldier Field and play in the playoffs, and here we are.
You made it. Congrats.
That being said, what I was more worried about with playing in Soldier Field in the playoffs is a game where the high temperature doesn't reach 20. I think early reports were that it was going to be like a 40, 50 degree game, or 40 to 50 degree day in Chicago. I mean, I like our chances, and I feel like there's always a road team that goes in and kind of shocks the home team. That's kind of why I wanted, like I said earlier, lean Dallas's way, just to kind of have us be that option. But I think that we can go in and get the job done. I look at it as, our defense versus their offense. I think we have a clear advantage. I would say that their defense versus our offense, their defense is stronger. But I would say if you look at each matchup, like, I think our defense is just a little bit better comparatively than their offense is, whereas our offense and their defense maybe are a little bit closer. I think this is going to maybe come down to a big time special teams play or a defensive touchdown, something like that, to cause some separation. Late big time turnover, whether it's a touchdown or not. But I mean, definitely us getting 5.5 points, I would take us with the points. And I'm the straight homer, so of course I'm going to say that we're going to win the game. But I mean, you're the, obviously we're boys. You're a Giants fan. You have hatred in your heart for the Eagles. But what's your God's honest thoughts on this game? I mean, do you think that this is one where the Bears they've seemed to turn things around and they're just going to roll through this, or do you think the Eagles can upset the apple cart, if you will?
So if I'm you, here's what I like. You guys are obviously hot. You're on fire. Everyone's rallying around Nick Foles again. You feel you're getting a little bit of the taste of that special feeling. I knew that feeling when back when the Giants would go to 9-7, and they got hot at the end. It also happened in the year where they knocked off the undefeated Patriots. That last week of the regular season, they played the Patriots really tough. They got hot at the end, and then they went on a run. We see it all the time. These teams get hot and go on a run. So you've got that. You guys are hot. I also like that you've got big game experience. You guys just went through this last year. You kind of know what to expect. Flip side of that, if I'm Chicago, this is a new thing for them. They haven't been in the playoffs in a while. You've got Trubisky.
2010, I believe.
Long time.
Yeah.
None of these guys have big game experience. I will say that I know your coach has been very questionable this year.
Oof.
And Nagy probably should win Coach of the Year. He's been great. But I'm a little nervous. I've been watching Nagy a little bit lately, and he's one of these guys who does the fourth down thing.
Yeah.
Or he'll do like a fake punt or something. I'm a little nervous he might do something stupid in this game to hurt things.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of on that special teams, like I think some type of intangible play is going to be a big deciding factor, and that kind of plays into that.
It could happen. So from that perspective, I think you should feel good about that. You've got a good, like a decent chance. Yeah. All that being said, the Bears are another one of these teams that is really good at home. 7-1 at home this season. The defense, I think, it has been historically good, and that defense at home with that crowd, it's asking a lot of Nick Foles and that Eagles offense. It's a big task. And Nick Foles has been incredible. He got a little banged up. We don't really know how injured he is. I'm sure he'll be fine and he'll play. He'll go out and give it 100%. He'll be all right. But it's a really big task. And the Bears have been pretty good at home in scoring points. You don't really think of them as you think of the Bears.
An offensive juggernaut.
Yeah, you don't think of
defense.
them as, you think all defense. Like, they're not going to score a ton of points. It's like a Rex Grossman Bears team. They're a little bit better than that because they have a pretty strong running game. Jordan Howard and Cohen is scary. If I'm you,
he is scary. That's who I'm nervous about.
Yeah,
he's like a Kamara type guy where
exactly
you think you have him, and man, you just ran yourself into a paper bag, you know.
Yep. This is one of those games where, kind of like the Chargers saying they have to get out to a fast start. I think you have to get out to a fast start because if you get out to a fast start here against the Bears, then the doubts can start creeping in. Like, we haven't been here. The Eagles are on fire. That's when I think you can keep the momentum going. But
yeah,
the Bears have been so good at just jumping on teams early, especially at home. I think.
Now, is this a game where, or is this a situation where, you see it all the time? The visiting team wins the coin toss and they elect to defer and put their defense on the field first and get the ball at the half. Do you think this is a game where if the Eagles win the toss, they should take the ball immediately and try to just go down the field and put up a touchdown? Or do you think?
I don't think so. I think you can defer because I think you can try to stop the Bears on that first drive, and then that's really when you get the momentum going. Because I think the Bears are going to come out. Trubisky's going to be all fired up. Like that place is going to be going insane. That first drive, they might not be, completely in sync. That's kind of where you can catch them. So I think I would defer if I was you.
Okay. Yeah.
It has the potential to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I don't think the Eagles are just going to roll over, but I'm leaning Chicago right now. I think they're just really tough at home, and that defense is just so good.
Yeah. I mean, I think. I've been singing that defense's praises all year. I mean, I'm happy to be in the playoffs. Obviously, when it's just like against Chicago, part of me is like, oh God, like that kind of hurts to go to Chicago and play.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's any given Sunday. You never know. The one thing with the banged up Nick Foles, do you think? I haven't even looked at all, and I probably should have. Do you think they suit up Carson Wentz, and do you think if things aren't going well in the second half, he comes out?
I don't think so. Can Wentz play? Is that a possibility?
He says that he has wanted to play all these games where Foles has been playing.
That's got to be a little awkward situation. I mean, Wentz is probably feeling it. He's probably like, this can't be happening again. Foles gets credit for the Super Bowl. I mean, Wentz was an MVP guy before he went down last year. This has got to be killing him.
Yeah.
You got everybody in the media and the radio shows, joking, should we trade Wentz? And, this is Foles' team. Should we keep bringing Foles back? It's got to be eating at him. So I'm sure he definitely wants to get in there. But
yeah, he definitely is not listening to WIP 94.1 because so many people are like, and my one brother-in-law is all about Foles and Foles, like, he'll have a special place in any Eagles fan's heart. I mean, I think long term, Wentz is our guy, and I'll say that to anybody. I'd freaking say that to Nick Foles' face. You know what I mean?
I think that's the smart approach. I think Wentz once he gets fully healthy,
he was not healthy. Like,
he's hurt the whole season.
Yeah, the thing I was saying to someone at home, because of course these talk, the being home for Christmas, we're talking Eagles, we're talking this debate, and it's kind of like, listen, I know that we started off 1-1, and Foles wasn't looking good, but like, if we had this much faith in him, he really should have played the first 6 games of the year.
Right.
And, cause Carson went, like, it's not that he tore his, like, not just tore his ACL, he ripped apart his knee against the Rams back in week 13. So like to put him on the field not like 9 months later, what he's great at is he's Houdini. He like disappears in a pile and comes out the other side and he makes this crazy throw. Like his mobility was terrible. He was taking hits left and right. Like how do you think he fractures his back? So I just think that he was rushed back too quickly. I don't want to see a repeat RG3. Anytime he's on the field, I feel good. And, with Nick Foles, I don't have as much confidence, but like he's proved it enough that I have strong amount of faith in him. But, I just think we gotta let let Wentz heal up because I think he is our guy going forward, in my opinion.
Yeah,
anybody else will tell you trade him for number 1 picks and this and that, but I just think that will be an asinine move. But
100%. It's so hard to find a franchise quarterback.
It is. It is.
I think you just
Look
ride.
at Cleveland.
Exactly.
Look at Arizona.
Look at the Jets.
Look at the Jets. Look at the Raiders. It's like.
Look at the Giants. Sorry, Eli.
No, I don't know. It'll be a fun weekend of football. Gotta love NFL. You just gotta love NFL playoffs. They're the best.
It's gonna be incredible. I'm really pumped. It's gonna be fun. All right. So those are our picks.
So let's go. Yeah. So I'm going Texans. You're going Colts.
Right.
We're both with Seahawks. We're both on the fence with Ravens, but we could be swayed either way.
Yeah, watching the forecast in that one.
Watching the forecast, and then your Bears on Birds. So we've got two the same, two conflicting. It'll be fun.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you.
Yeah, I know where you're gonna go here.
I don't know if you know. Maybe we should name this a segment. Seems like there's a little bit of Sixers drama every time you come on the podcast.
Jeez Louise, man.
So I was at work today, and I work with a diehard Philly sports fan, and he was bad mouthing your boy Joel Embiid. He's like, he's like a diehard fan too, and he's like, Embiid. I'm questioning his character. I was like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, you're loving every second of this.
It's so good. Embiid's amazing. Like, please turn on him. Anyway, apparently, so he got pissed off at Ben Simmons during a game for Ben Simmons taking a rebound at him.
Yeah, it was last night.
Obviously not. This is not a big deal. Like, this happens in basketball. But is this an underlying thing between them? Did they not like each other? What's going on?
No, I think that it's funny. I actually was watching that game last night. It was last night's game against. Who were we playing last night? We were playing Clippers in LA. It's funny. Like my in-law, Aaron's parents, and then our niece came out to watch the Rose Bowl, and her dad was like, "Oh my God, I wasn't even thinking that we were playing the Clippers. We could have gone from the Rose Bowl to the Staples Center and watched that game."
Back to back.
But we watched it from our house, and he actually said that, like, as that play happened, they showed the replay and they showed Embiid cursing, and then they showed the replay where, like, Simmons, like, catches Embiid in the head with an elbow trying to get a rebound, and I was like, oh, he must be mad because it looked like Martin Gortat appeared to do like a two-handed shove to Embiid's back. And I was like, I guess he's mad they didn't call a foul. And Aaron's dad was like, no, I think he's actually mad at Simmons, like, because he went up and like obviously the big man, like that he feels that's his rebound, and like he's battling his own teammate for it and catches an elbow in the head. I just think that's in the heat of the game. I don't think that that's like a Draymond KD situation where there's clearly something going on there. I think that that's more, my father-in-law kind of said, he's like, man, they're both, those two are both stat whores. Like he wants his 30-20, Ben wants his triple-double. I just think that was an inadvertent, nothing to worry about situation.
So you're not saying Ben Simmons needs to be traded by February?
Oh God, these people, Jay Williams,
it's amazing.
Saying he traded Ben Simmons for what? Like I brought it up yesterday to my father-in-law, to Aaron's dad, and he's like, who do they think? What piece are they going to be able to then get that someone's going to give up to make it better? Like, yes, of course Ben can't. We know Ben can't shoot, but he's also only in his second year in the league. You know what I mean?
I think Ben Simmons.
I think that we need a perimeter. We need to find another perimeter scorer. That's dynamic, but this is the process, baby. There's a reason that we keep saying TTP. So
Ben Simmons, I think, is so underrated at this point. I don't know what switch has flipped where people are down on him now. I get like he was never a great shooter. Like, why did this all change? And by the way, on the shooting thing, he's actually getting a little bit better shooting. His percentages are up. He's working on it. I was listening to the JJ Redick podcast the other day, and he mentioned Simmons and how he's been working really hard on his shooting. I think he's never gonna be a great shooter, but I think he's figuring it out. I was watching his stroke at the free throw line the other day. It wasn't bad. Like it's getting better. It's obviously a work in progress.
And as we talk about it, he's 7 for 8 from the free throw line tonight against the Suns.
Oh, there you go. I'm telling no one's paying.
He's
no one's noticing. His shooting is getting better. I'm telling you.
He's still 60% this year, but I think he's developing a little more confidence. Like yesterday, he actually, he had someone on the perimeter. They kind of gave him space. He faced up and he took a half dribble, took a single dribble, half step, and took a jumper. And it didn't go in, but
it's better than it was.
A solid shot, which I think he last year would have never taken that shot. I think he needs to develop, build his confidence in that. And they say in shoot-arounds, he hits shots from all over the court, jump shots. I think he's also now to the point where he, from a role perspective, knows that the team isn't looking for him to do that, so he doesn't look to do it. But I'll be happy when he actually kind of takes those shots more, and I think that'll be a sign that he's gaining confidence in his jumper, and that opens up the court tremendously. Now, the one thing that I'm worried about is he was always great around the rim. He's kind of there's been a couple of games where his touch has been really off. He's driving at a guy and then he kind of fades away last minute and tries to go off the window and he always leaves it short. It's Ben, you're so big and strong, just go at their body. Even if you go 1 for 2 from the line, at least rack up some fouls here. But I mean, we're playing good basketball. We'll be 25 and 14 after tonight's game. We're up 18 already against the Suns. We're sitting third. We've been kind of fluctuating, flip-flopping between third and fourth in the conference. We're 3.5 games back right now, the Bucks. It's going to be tight up top. We could go on another crazy run where we win 15 in a row at the end of the year and we end up the 1 seed. You know what I mean?
No, you're right there. The top of the East is solid.
And we've only been playing as this threesome, if you think this big three, for about a month. They still got to work through some stuff. And
that's kind of the interesting thing, too, because when you only get these new guys, these new stars on different teams, it usually takes a little bit of time for them to gel. Obviously it's taking time, but you guys have been winning along the way. That doesn't happen. So you've got to, I think a lot of it is due to Embiid. He's the backbone of that team, and he's just incredible.
Yeah, no one's talking. There's been a little chatter of him for MVP, but I feel like he's got to be a top. I think at the end of the year he'll be a top three getter for MVP votes.
I think that's fair.
He's a freak. He's a freak, and if we get the 1 seed, maybe we get a little Brooklyn Nets, Philadelphia 76ers matchup. You guys are flirting right there on the outskirts of that 8 seed.
Half a game out. We're coming.
Detroit basketball. You're coming.
We're definitely coming. If that happens, we got to go to a game.
Yep. Yeah, that's April. Maybe if I end up working the Boston Marathon Expo, maybe I'm there during playoff game, and we can make it happen.
Brooklyn, Philly. We'll go to home and away.
Home and away. The Wizards, they seem to be getting a little bit of rhythm going, and then they lose John Wall to surgeries. That's just dumpster fire. I think we got a new dumpster fire. Now that the regular season NFL's done and the rules are out, I think that the Wizards are the next dumpster fire.
I think that's very fair. The Wizards are by far the next dumpster fire, and they just threw John Wall straight into the fire. It's not good.
Yep, not good.
Somebody say Brad Beal.
That's actually Aaron's dad said yesterday that would be someone. He's like, oh man, if they want to make a move and get Bradley Beal, I wouldn't hate that.
What are you going to do to get him though? You can't.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
We don't have. We could do picks, I guess, but
what? Ben Simmons for Karis LeVert? Who says no?
Yeah. the injured Karis. At least he didn't do crazy damage. But yeah, no. I think. I don't know, it seems like the NBA this year has just been everyone wants all the drama. So, this happens and they see him cursing about a board and now it's all of a sudden Ben versus Embiid. You know what I mean? Obviously, the KD Draymond was a little different because KD's saying, and this is why I'm gone. But, it just seems everyone wants to did all, it's like a soap opera.
It is.
And then you got LeBron, and this is why I'm the GOAT. I just can't.
Oh, you must have hated that quote.
Oh, God.
You must have hated that. I can't believe he said that. What are you doing? LeBron's really feeling himself right now.
He's too much, dude. And that's where that's like kind of what drives me crazy about himself. It's kind of like it's like it's like creating your own nickname for yourself. Like he's like the self-proclaimed GOAT now because like, oh, good, like congratulations, you like, yes, it was a monumental comeback, but what, they suspended Draymond Green for Game 5, which like, okay, this was to extend it a little. Like that was a suspect suspension. They wanted it to go a little bit further, and then if you have a home game for Game 6. Like, you better win that, or you know what, do they go 2-3-2?
Yeah, 2-3-2.
So you win Game 5 at home, like, you have another game where, like, they're a little bit out of sorts, Draymond was out, they're on the road, they probably think it's a slam dunk, and then all of a sudden it's a Game 7, like, anything goes there.
I love how much you hate LeBron. It's so
I mean, again, like, I respect the shit out of LeBron.
Have you seen his show, The Shop?
I can't watch that. Can't do it.
It's amazing.
I respect a lot of things that he does, no doubt. Like, great humanitarian. But, you know, my friends were texting because, of course, like, Coop sent that link of Barstool of, like, Jordan giving his – and I thought of this post-game – NBA Finals 93 press conference where he's just like, listen, I'm not saying I'm better than these guys, but, you know, winning 3 in a row, Bird never did it, Isaiah never did it, Magic never did it. I think like that at least gives me an argument type thing, like playing it modest, and then you get that accuse LeBron. I mean, me winning that championship made it to me in my head. I'm the greatest of all time. Like, all right, dude, like, please.
It's so good. The best part, you got to watch this show because my favorite part of The Shop. So they're all in a barber shop, right? And they're all getting haircuts. LeBron is wearing a hat like 80% of the time.
Yeah, because he has no hair.
It's amazing. Like they're all getting haircuts, and he's just wearing a hat the whole time.
Yeah, I know. Like again, very smart. He's marketing his brand. The guy's going to be worth $1 billion at some point. But it just, you know, I'm not about that. I'm not about that life.
Don't speak ill of the GOAT. All right.
Who, MJ?
MJ, you wish. No, actually me, if we're talking fantasy football. Let's be real.
You are the GOAT. You are the GOAT of fantasy. Let's be real.
Thank you.
Dude, I've also been churning these ideas of our fantasy terrific bets. We gotta have an off-air chat about this soon, but
yes.
You know, congrats on the crown again. These guys are gonna. You better watch out, man. They may form a collusion to come to the throne. There may be, you know, we got Game of Thrones final season coming up. They may get some ideas. You know, try to have a usurper come in and take the throne. So you better make sure you keep your head on a swivel.
I'm ready. Bring it. That's all I got to say is bring it. I want to talk to you about all these shows that I've binged over the holiday week.
Yeah. Making a Murderer, dude. See, like, I want to hear it because I really didn't get to watch shows. Like, we were back in Philly. We were staying at Aaron's parents. We were staying at my mom's. We were staying at my sister's. We were all over. We were watching babies. I mean, I watched Frozen and Moana. Don't worry about it. I got those checked off my list.
You're welcome.
But I didn't really get to watch many shows, so we got to debrief that next time.
We will get to that. Tori and I have just rewatched all of Game of Thrones.
Oh, dude, I want to do that, and Aaron does not want to. It drives me crazy.
No, it's so good. There's so many things like you completely forget about. It's amazing. And now, like, I feel ready, like, for the new season coming. I'm like, now I'm ready to go. All we have left is the finale, so I'm pumped.
Dude, I'm 3 months, man. April can't come soon enough.
I have a new show that you need to watch. I'm gonna tell you next week.
Look at this.
It's a little tease.
We're gonna put the tease out. Keep them coming back, baby.
You have to watch it. It's so good.
All right, cool.
And then we will break down Making a Murderer. Maybe we should just do a Game of Thrones podcast. Just one.
Dude,
just do it.
I've read all the books, man.
Oh, look at you.
I would maybe need to read the Wiki of Westeros just to kind of again refresh. I actually more want the next book to come out than the show. Like, it's driving me crazy. George R.R., you're killing me.
We'll talk to George R.R. He's a big fan of the pod.
Big fan.
He thinks we're Scott Van Pelt and Russillo. It's crazy.
Let's go, babies. I gotta hit the gym a little bit more though if I want to play Russillo.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta bulk up. I'm keeping the head game fresh though, so we got SVP.
Let go.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the pod. Go subscribe and like the Terrific Talk podcast on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're everywhere you listen to your podcast. Go check me out.
If you're on Facebook, we'll share this. So click the link. Give us a listen.
100%. And make sure to check out Steve's Instagram page.
It's coming.
All right.
29 2019, everyone. TTP, BDN, here we go.
Happy 2019. Let's go Bears. Kobe. Hey, quick side note. So we taped this podcast earlier in the week, and the forecast was calling for rain on Sunday in Baltimore. But good news for Chargers fans. It looks like the rain has moved up to Saturday. It's looking like clear skies on Sunday. That's going to change everything. That should be a great game. Hope you all enjoy all the games this weekend. Happy New Year, and we'll see you early next week. All right? For the second time. Kobe.